In my talk today, we're going to be visiting the subject of binary codes, the history of binary codes, how binary codes might affect you, your DNA, the metaphysical properties of binary codes, and might there be some type of connection to extraterrestrial communication when it comes to binary codes. So fasten your seatbelt because I did a deep dive on this one and I'm excited. I'm excited about it. So, have you ever heard of someone receiving messages from the stars in the form of ones and zeros? Imagine touching a landed UFO and having a sequence of binary codes downloaded into your mind, or decoding a crop circle that holds mathematical messages for the world. In today's talk, I'm going to explore some real life cases as well as some information, history, and as I said, metaphysical implications that have to do with our expanded consciousness. These aren't just science fiction stories, which I thought they were, and these are actually well documented and deeply metaphysical transmissions. So I kept doing a deep dive again and again and again and again. And when I picked up all the printed pages, I thought this talk has the potential to last a couple of hours, but I'm going to attempt to fit it in the next 30 minutes. So, what exactly is a binary code? Well, this is what started it. So, remember, I had the blue light beings come to visit me 8 years ago. And then over these 8 years, they have provided a lot of information. And that information started coming through really strongly just before we went into that global pandemic. And then as we were kind of coming out of it, there were light codes, there was blue plasma, there were photons, there was binary codes, there was sacred geometry, and more recently, a lot of hieroglyphs that contain multidimensional levels of information. So I thought, well, if we're going to be working with this over the next few years, which they said we are as we're creating a light body over the next 3 years, we might want to understand a little bit more about what these different components are. So today my focus is on binary codes. So basically, binary codes are the basic language of computers made up of only two digits, zeros and ones. So bi means two, binary means codes, zeros and ones. That's it, no other number. Every piece of digital information, whether it's a photograph, a song, an email, or any AI messages, they are ultimately, and this really I found so surprising, that when it's being coded in the background, it comes down to strings of zeros and ones. The two values represent this, and this is what had great meaning to me. It either represents off or on, false or true, or low or high voltage in electrical circuits. So it's pretty clean, it's pretty clear, it's not emotionally driven, it's just the facts, ma'am. So historically, I was really curious because I thought binary codes really had a mathematical foundation. This is what surprised me. Binary codes were started with the I Ching, the ancient roots found in China of the I Ching 3,000 years ago. So this was surprisingly the first known binary system that come from the ancient work of the I Ching. So if you've not heard of the I Ching, I do highly recommend that you probably get a book on it. It's a lot of fun, and I love the ancientness of its wisdom. The oracle text uses its broken lines, which represent yin, and then the unbroken line represents yang. And it's contained into 64 hexagrams, combinations that are understood to be binary in nature. So again, a broken line in the I Ching would represent zero, a solid line would represent one. And then in the 17th century, there was a German mathematician and a philosopher who was really inspired by the I Ching. And he saw that it had the potential to be a universal language based on duality. And he called it a system of logic. So he credited formalizing binary numbers and seeing them as a foundation of universal logical system. And he believed this binary system represented cosmic duality of everything and nothing, light and dark, spirit and matter. So, are you keeping up so far? Because I had more questions. Like I said, I did a deep dive. So, some of you probably know a lot about binary codes, but I didn't. And so we'll go from there. Then there was a man, George Boole, in the 1800s, who was really instrumental in algebra, which was a form of logic that he would later form into digital circuit design. In the 1930s, the father of information age, Claude Shannon, also took Boole's information and then created electrical circuits and birthed the early models of the computer. So why might extraterrestrials understand binary codes? Well, binary codes are thought to be universal, and this was my question. Okay, I've read some things about extraterrestrials communicating in binary codes. So are they universal? Do they come from other cosmic star systems? Like, how do we know, or how did extraterrestrials know? Did we know first, or did they know first? So binary code is thought to be universal, not culturally bound, not reliant on language or symbols. It's mathematical, it's logical, which is why scientists love to use it as signals and space probes that they would send out to outer space. So the theory is that all civilizations capable of understanding physics would know about these duality states, like off and on, present or absent, yes or no. So binary codes are actually the simplest way to encode complex information using very few assumptions. I love that word, because we can assume what something means. We can have an emotional feeling about an outcome. However, in binary codes, it just is or is not. So, in the binary language of duality and creation, the metaphysical properties can represent masculine and feminine, spirit, matter, darkness, light, silence, or sound. And we do often in the spiritual communication, we will talk about how and when we're living in our physical body, we live in duality, hot, cold, love, hate, things like that. In the spiritual form, we do not work in duality. We have that consciousness that is unified. So from a metaphysical lens, a binary is not just digital. It's the pulse of consciousness where you choose between this or that. Kind of like the heartbeat of the universe, which first is differentiated from oneness into a duality expression, just kind of what I just said. So binaries can be mapped into a waveform frequency of energy, where zero, if we want to think about zero as having a low amplitude, and this is going to make more sense down the way, and one having a higher frequency amplitude and activation. All right, so light codes and DNA upgrades, photonic downloads can theoretically ride the binary style type frequency. And this is how mystics perceive extraterrestrial light language transmissions are structured like binary photonic waves that your energy field ends up decoding. Binary in sacred geometry and sound, the binary pattern of doubling appears in fractals, Fibonacci symbols and sequences, musical harmonics, and crystalline formations. So a binary is no more than a code. That's it. It's the universal heartbeat of creation. So whether encoded in ancient oracles like the Chinese I Ching, or whether it's in sacred architecture, light signal beaming across the galaxy, it can hold potential for ongoing communication, transformation, and awakening. So if you happen to be receiving any intuitive downloads or symbols in a binary format, you're not imagining it. Your consciousness just might be tuning in to a galactic network of frequency, knowledge, and intelligence. And some people describe binary codes as the original light language. So then my question was, can your thoughts shift the codes? So let's say your whole DNA is made up of binary codes, zeros and ones. Can your thought process influence that? So the answer is yes. So binary systems underlie the reality of quantum and energetic levels. So when you have an intentional thought, which happens to carry a frequency, it can influence, shape, and interact the binary patterns. So consciousness can affect codes like systems. So even though a traditional science might say you can rewrite binary code with your thoughts, quantum physics and neuroscience have opened up incredible conversations around this. So neuroplasticity, you've heard me talk about this before, where just simply turning right out of the driveway instead of left, like you might do every day, can shift and expand your neurological system to rewire. It's not always going to go left. Sometimes you're going to go right. So your brain has these on-off switches firing neurons or not. So thought patterns can literally change the structure of your brain's code over time. This is you rewriting your binary system, one synapse at a time. In quantum physics, simply observing a particle changes its state. Now, I have to tell you, think about that. Just by observing a particle changes its state, changes the way it moves, just by you noticing it. This means that your conscious awareness can collapse potential into reality. Now, in metaphysics, I was really curious about this because thought as a frequency that writes light codes. Now, I'm in my 60s. I've been doing this work for 30 years. I had never heard of a I had never heard of a binary code before. So it's only been in the last few years as our consciousness is awakening to this material. So a binary code is a digital information of light codes are foundational structures of spiritual information, and then the thought becomes the bridge, the keyboard that types your new commands. So when you have an awakened conscious thought pattern, and maybe you had a limited thought pattern before, or limiting beliefs, or behavior patterns that you've lived with for a long time, and now suddenly you're able to see past all of those things. This is and can completely rewrite your binary code in a digital format. And your thoughts are not random. They are direct frequencies. They are pattern fields of intention. So we talk a lot about intention. And I always love it, like in the courtroom, they take into consideration all the laws, but what they're always trying to get to the point of the matter is, what was your intention? Was your intention to be hurtful? Or when the person got hurt, was it a total accident? And so they want to determine intention. So, and energetic instructions that you emit to the world that let the world know in its binary codes how you wish to see that coded format. Are you hanging in with me so far? So let's say that you have the thought, I am worthless. This may align you with one binary pattern of reality of a closed door of zeros, which, remember, a zero is a more of a closed or broken line, low amplitude. But the intentional thought, I'm loved, I'm connected to all that is, can reorient your entire binary digital frequency code structure to bring you up to a 1, which gives you higher amplitude in how you feel every day. So thoughts are light keys. These thoughts, these light keys, they don't just describe your reality, they encode it. All right. So then I was curious about extraterrestrials. I'm like, is there any history? Is there any example in history where extraterrestrials have communicated with us on Earth through binary codes? So, extraterrestrial wisdom and binary codes are channeled accounts of spiritual teachings that suggest ET civilizations such as Syrians, Arcturians, and the blue celestial beings that I connect with receive human intention as a binary code frequency packet. And I will often talk about light codes as these little frequency packets that are filled with knowledge and wisdom. So I'm trying to see here what it was. So this is similar to quantum data transfers. Thought plus emotion plus intention equals a binary signal of co-creation, offering guidance, healing. In return, then there's a transmit of light codes back into your field. So you send that out, it comes back to your field. It is being interpreted like firmware that help you to make whatever shifts you need to make. So binary is changeable because it's a language. You can have, it's not static. So you can have this certain kind of light code, light language and coding. But when you have a new experience, like me just going to Egypt, that was a really new experience. Or maybe I'm experiencing some new emotions, new spiritual thoughts and alignments, or maybe just new dreams and desires that I wish for my life. Consciousness doesn't just feel good, it sends a 1 instead of a 0. So remember, the 1 has the higher amplitude, the 0 has the lower amplitude. So it lights up your circuit board, you know, when you have these elevated thought patterns. So you're a walking transmitter, just like a binary light pulses that pulse through your DNA, your chakras, and your aura. And by holding any intentional thoughts, you vibrate your whole system with a new frequency pattern, which reorganizes your entire energy field. So I've been working with the human energy field. I've been working with people, teaching them about their human energy field for 30 years now. And we can be quite emotional about it. We can be quite judgmental or critical, or we can be hopeful and loving and joy-filled. So all those are frequencies. But when it comes down to binary codes, it just is. It just is, or is not. So remember, you are the programmer of your entire energy field. You receive data through your aura in the form of light codes. You run your programs through the form of belief systems. You rewrite your own software through intention and the choices that you make in your life. Your consciousness, especially when focused on love and clarity, has the power to shift the matrix itself. So, then I had the question when I was meditating, and it's like, can a strong negative thought shut down someone's energy, like shifting your ones, high amplitude ones, to zero, low amplitude ones? The information that I got through meditation is that yes, if someone has a projected thought at you charged with strong emotional forces like hatred, envy, or judgment, then that can shut those ones down to zeros. The receiver has to be also energetically open or possibly vulnerable to those energies. And the intention and projection can penetrate your energy field and disrupt your flow. But here's the thing. By having a conscious awareness that this is not my energy, I don't know why I just got shut down, you can intend to shift those zeros back to ones. So a binary code of 1 represents openness, vitality, flow, possibilities, trust, and spiritual alignments. 0 symbolizes blockages. It's like a broken line. Blockages shut down disconnection, fear, and disbelief. So your chakra system can be running beautifully with streams of light made of billions of those little ones without any effort at all. And then a negative thought pattern that might come from someone like, she doesn't deserve this, or I hope he fails, or you're not good enough. Those things can shift your binary patterns. This can result in you feeling fatigued, anxious, self-doubt, emotional heaviness, and a sense that something just went dim. I call it lights off, lights on. So what can you do when this happens? You can reaffirm your own truths out loud. This energy doesn't belong to me. I'm returning it to a source of love. Breathe into the space that feels shut down and fill it with light. Visualize yourself as zeros and ones and light up the zeros. Click, 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 returning to radiant ones. You can also use a protective light code such as a golden Merkaba or the Eye of Horus that I have talked about in the past, or the love from Jesus, Mary, the God of your heart, other ascended masters, or especially your higher self, asking your higher self to help you to reinforce and have resilient your chakra system. So then I wanted to know, so I went online to look up if they have any historical confirmation that there's been communication from the universe, from star beings or extraterrestrials. And so what came up on the internet was the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980 in Suffolk, England. It's often called Britain's Roswell, where the most famous binary transmission linked to an extraterrestrial encounter happened. So you can look it up. You can watch YouTube videos on it to get more information. So what happened was U.S. Air Force Sergeant Jim Peniston claimed he encountered a landed craft in Rendlesham Forest near the Air Force Woodbridge base. He touched the aircraft and he said he received a telepathic download of binary codes. He recorded these binary codes in a notebook later that night. Years later, the binary code sequences were decoded by researchers using a binary to text translation. And there was an alleged translation that revealed the message. Here's the message: exploration of humanity, continuous for planetary advancement, eyes of your eyes, year of origin, 8100. This also, in this binary code transmission that was translated, also contained coordinates to ancient sites like the pyramids of Giza, the Nazca lines, and even here in the United States, the Sedona, Arizona. There's crop circles with binary elements, where in Chilbolton, England, there was a radio telescope. So in 1974, astronomer Carl Sagan and Frank Drake sent a binary encoded message into space via this particular telescope containing human DNA, a figure of a human, and information about the Earth. That was in 1974, all right? In 2001, a crop formation appeared resembling an updated version of that message with altered details. The DNA had an extra strand added to the humanoid that was also in this crop formation that had a large head and showed that it was from a different solar system. So how does that work? If Carl Sagan did this in 1974, and this is like 30 years later, did it take that long for the message to get out somewhere in the universe and then take that long for it to come back and be answered? Who knows? So it appeared to be a response from a non-human intelligence sent in a binary code format via crop glyphs, is what they called them. And then there was a second crop circle nearby that same year depicting a gray alien holding a CD with a binary code message. And the binary code on the disc read, "Beware the bearers of false gifts and broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe. There is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit is now closing." Doesn't that give you goosebumps? And so they were able to communicate. And all this is online. You can do a little search online. You can do it on YouTube. I'm sure that there's some videos about it where you can actually see the pictures of these crop glyphs, as they're calling them. So many consider crop circles a mix of artistry and authentic extraterrestrial contact in a form of encoded metaphysical teachings designed to awaken humanity's patterns of recognition and intuitive knowing. Now, I'm about ready to wrap this up, and I think I'm going to make it to the 30-minute mark, believe it or not. So, in the past 30 years, several contactees, ET contactees, and ET experiencers have reported receiving messages in the form of binary codes during meditative states or during extraterrestrial encounters. So with this woman by the name of Deborah Jordan Cobble was featured in a show called The Intruders, where she received binary messages in the form of her dream state. Other experiencers have reported receiving binary sequences that when decoded, resembled mathematical formulas, coordinates, and light frequency patterns. So in these cases, again, they're talking about binary codes being a language that's more like a frequency delivery system, a kind of interdimensional Morse code. So what are the implications here? So binary is nonverbal. It's symbolic. It's clearly universal, just based on the information that I've done a deep dive on. Just as sacred geometry communicates through form, binary communicates through frequencies and through sequences. This makes an ideal bridge between species, dimensions, and multi-levels of consciousness. Extraterrestrial beings, especially those who operate within a light body system or a plasma type form, just might use binary as a way to bypass language and interface directly with our own DNA, energy fields, and quantum consciousness. Now, when this information started coming to me several years ago through the blue plasma and the blue light and the blue light codes and the blue, everything blue, and about incredibly enhanced knowledge and wisdom coming in, and that the blue plasma is like the container that holds all this knowledge, I just thought that's way above my pay grade. But when I was asked to make a video, a teaching on binary codes, I was told it's because this knowledge is going to be very, very helpful to you in the next weeks and days and months and years to come. So I hope, and I would love to hear from you in the comments section. Did it make sense? Was I able to distill it down into a place that you could begin to digest it? Or did I talk way below and you have this superpower, high level knowledge of binary codes? I want to hear it all because I'm just learning. And I know that many of us are just learning and some of us are way ahead. So we are a community that is stronger together than we've ever been apart. So I look forward to hearing exactly what you think about binary codes.